Thank you for coming back. And now for another truth. The propaganda of ego is the true demiurge, or the true evil of the world. The propaganda that ego creates is the first and only sin, the original sin. And not really a sin committed by man, because man is just a simple creature made of the earth and God. But it is the true sin of God himself. The original sin started with God himself, right? Okay. So this is how Genesis and most of the creation stories lay out our creation, with the start of consciousness. That mankind was a thing when mankind realized it was a conscious being. We realized we are the God when we realized that it's our perception that creates the world, that creates the laws that we perceive. It's our intention that forces those things into place and gives them order. The real truth of it is ego. It's trying to put things in order to where we understand them is what creates a structure that we call reality. So this is mapped out, and I've talked about this in other conversation videos before. This is the same thing. It's the birth of consciousness that's laid out at the beginning of Genesis in the Bible. But it's probably the first one that you'll recognize. Like, there are other creation stories that far precede Genesis in the Bible, or the biblical interpretation. There's way older contexts that go back 30,000 years that we know of, like the Epic of Gilgamesh, which has a demigod, or a being that's born of the gods, or the Anunnaki, and of the people of Earth. So he's 3/4 God, right? His mother was full God, and his father was a demigod, 75% God, or 3/4, whatever. Gilgamesh. That was 30,000 years ago, inscribed on a clay tablet in cuneiform from the Mesopotamian Sumerian people, and we only have a record of it because they put it in a form that would last fucking forever. Well, nothing lasts forever, but you know, inscribing it on clay tablets, like a story, is going to last way longer than a book. Like, and the whole point of this is that this idea of modernity, this idea of modern man being the far advancement of humanity, is a dumb assumption. It's a really dumb assumption to think that we're the most advanced humanity's ever got. No, we are the surviving most advanced race of humanity. We are the surviving. We're the ones that are alive right now, but we didn't get the farthest. We don't know who got the farthest before they were wiped out, what precursor civilizations there were before the Earth started over and over. And the scary truth, like, I was watching Three Body Problem, right? And like, the aliens get scared because humanity moves exponentially so much faster. But the truth is, humanity would not move so much faster if they were fucking discovering these things for the first time. Our knowledge of our history is so limited that it only goes back a couple thousand years, and even that's not accurate. We can't even say what things absolutely happened in the 1st through 15th century without some obvious determinant of that, possibly because something else happened, or possibly was just portrayed that way, or the winning army, or the winning empire fucking said it was like that, and that's what got recorded in history. But none of that is factual. What is factual is when we find a perfectly preserved piece of history in tablet form, in a language that nobody can really refute that that's how it fucking is or worked. And having a story of a demigod 30,000 years ago means that probably something like that does exist. We know the obvious things that we've known all our life, like it's not possible to have a universe so big, or have a star system, even the Milky Way, so huge, and not have life anywhere else in it. Just the amount of chances that are happening, and the amount of there's like this new thing that they found at the edge of our solar system called this primordial kind of space cloud that carries maybe even elements of stars from billions of years of having like supernovas and things, and gold and fucking the primordial things of life in these clouds. And that's what must have hit Earth. How we're talked about being stardust children. That eventually we came from the radiation and light emitted by the star cluster, the Laniakea and the Perseus-Pisces belt. So that light is what eventually creates our solar system and creates but the whole great attractor, or the greater will, had to be out there in astronomy to pull those stars into being. I can explain what the great attractor is. It's a very real thing. It's a very real thing. It's just the idea that, like, at some point there had to be some force that pulled the stars of the Milky Way into position so they could be there and give off that light energy that eventually creates us as people. So a lot of the stories harken back to that, but the specific moment they're really going for is the moment that mankind receives consciousness, that's aware of himself. And this is laid out in Genesis. And it's written in a language so ancient people understand, and it's translated from a language that we don't know any of the referential or connotative things of the words. So when it says God is hovering over water, we have no idea, like, is it referring to God as a man or God as a spirit? Because, like, the word that's used means more essence of God, not because the words of kind of spiritual existence and those things didn't exist for the people in the Old Testament. Like, there's no afterlife. In the law, it's appointed for man to live and die in Judaism. Like, and we don't much think about what happens after that. Like, it doesn't matter. Because, maybe God puts you back here. Maybe that's all there is. Maybe you're just gone. But that's what they say it as. You're just gone. Because that's the only kind of reality they were referring to. So when they were saying God is in Genesis 1:2, saying that God is above water, and they're really talking about putting God in a superseded position, right? And what God is realizing and sees in the water. And the obvious inference, no matter what time period or what inferences that your specific society or your advanced society thinks, is that what commonly do we see in the water when we hover over water ourselves? And that would be our reflection. So this sets up consciousness in being the first emanation or reflection of God, right? So God sees his reflection in the water. That creates two aspects of God, right? Okay, so then God thinks about what this reflection means, and it means that God is all alone and has an extreme desire for companionship. So much so that the creation of the world takes place, right? Like, it's like, I gotta do something. I don't want to be here by myself, with myself forever. But how does a sculptor make an independent thing from himself? Like, whatever a sculptor makes is going to be part of him. So you need some kind of trick that makes something separate. If you're making everything, you need something that makes it separate. And that's literally what bodies do for us. They give us an illusion of being separate from each other. Though we really, really deep down have the same divinity. Like the essence of life is in all of us, or that light, or that, whatever you want to call it, energy or whatever that gives us light. That's within all of us. That's the pure juice, right? That's the pure juice of creation. And that's what we call God, right? So, that's there. I've really explained this several times, but like I feel like it's such a hard thing to understand that that Genesis is just basically talking about the birth of consciousness. So let's get past that to the point of the story, and that's the demiurge, right? The two demiurges is propaganda that modern man spews, the idea that this is the most advanced technology that we've ever been, and we're moving at an exponential rate. It's true that we're moving at an exponential rate, but it's not true that we came up with these ideas ourselves. And it's not really true that we're moving faster than those civilizations that took longer to do this, because at some point we may have taken that time, 10,000 years, 30,000 years to do things. And our limited knowledge of history doesn't put in for the fact that we already had ideas of beyond the material world before anything was discovered about it scientifically. Before there was any laws, we already had ideas that physical and mental spaces were different spaces, which goes to like the invention of lying, because lying is something that happens in nature as well. The invention of lying is not a sole aspect of humanity. Like if you watch Three Body Problem, reread that story, the issue for the aliens that need a place to live and their world's being destroyed because they're more advanced is that humanity is moving at an exponential rate, and by the time they get to Earth, they're going to be more advanced than the aliens. And that, I guess that would be a true issue if you had because the aliens will have very little knowledge of human history. But it's these ideas that were true, that were there before the science was there, that come from precursor civilizations that go back millions of years, that are responsible for these discoveries. And we just take part in finding remnants of them. Like how far have the pyramids of Giza taught us things? And they continue to teach us more and more. The more we learn about them, the more we see how important where they put the pyramids were, the exact measurements of the pyramids to an nth degree, nothing supremely advanced than anything we can create now, which is so inexact and so cheap. Will any of the buildings of modern science live 1,000 years? Will any of them get past 10,000 years? Will any of them be a pyramid of Giza? Will any of these structures? Or will it all be gone? Will the empire of the United States of America be gone in 1,000 years? We can say there'll be a one world currency within my lifetime. Within 50 years, there'll be a one world currency. Pretty sure that's true. You won't have to exchange money. There'll be one currency that's taken around the world, which it basically is now, because that stuff's all done automatically through credit cards and things. So, like, there is one world currency. It's just the values of different currencies play a game with this. Like, it doesn't really need to be there. But, it's like insurance. It's like people taking a piece off the top. But, getting back to it. So, the thing against life, against God, is you say it's of death and darkness, but that part's actually needed to have light. You need darkness. You cannot have good if you don't have an experience of bad. If there's no experience of a bad day, there's never an experience of a good day. It's all the same. So these fluctuations in emotion create the heaven you think of. Now, the heaven you think of doesn't exist. It's just being a good place on its own. But it will also have to have a structure of reward and deficit as well as being not having good days in heaven as well. Otherwise, you don't have progress anymore. And the only thing that we do that really matters to us is discovery, is learning things we don't know. When you're a god and you know everything, the only thing you want is not to know. The only thing that makes this fun is not knowing things. It makes you have to choose. It makes you have to analyze. It makes you have to think about why one thing is better than another. And that is the game theory of life. And that's why we love games. Because life is one. As opposed to knowing everything and just existing with the universe. We know very little and learn about it. And that's the fun part. I don't even know if I can explain this right. But, the next time you're getting angry at something, think to yourself, this is just for fun. What am I getting so stressed out about? It's like when I get mad at, when I'm playing a video game and I'm getting mad. It's like I'm doing this for fun. Why am I getting so wrapped up in it? Like it's going to last forever, or this is the only state that I'm living. If something bad's happening to you, it means something good is just around the corner. And if something good is happening to you, something bad's not that far, honestly. And your life is only made fulfilled by having ample sides pulling against each other. That means that, for every good thing that happens to you, a bad thing happens to you as well. And this creates the balance and push and pull of your existence, right? For you to be born, you have to be born into a place where conflict is constantly happening. And that conflict exists in temperature, that conflict exists in light and darkness, that conflict exists in the middle. Why do you think the Earth is always referred to as Midgard, or Middle Earth, or the lands between? Because this is a place where everything fights and is in conflict, okay? Warm is a place where hot and cold meet equal value. That's warm. Not too hot, and not too cold, right? It's like Goldilocks. Goldilocks world, right? It makes you think, though, that how did our world, was our world in a perfect place for this? Or were things put into effect for it to be a place of perfection? Is that life is one? Was it terraformed? That's what I'm saying. Why this one planet, all the other planets are kind of dry and basically very little ways of making life, and this one is full of them. Coincidentally, that's dumb as shit to think that this was all a coincidence, right? But it's also dumb as shit to think, it was one being. When has anything ever been one being? And if you're talking about that one being, you're talking about something so general, like the essence of life or some shit. You're not talking about anything specific. Because once you get into specifics, it starts breaking down in very, things that can seem very random. But they're not. We just don't understand all the factors to them. And that's what life is. This beautiful symphony of good and bad. Here's the big battle that you're kind of mostly unaware of, because you trust your fucking memories. But the future affects the past as much as the past affects the future. And when you learn what that means and you see that as true, then you got it. Then you got all of it. When you see that every time you remember something, that you change it a little bit, reorganize it, restructure it, recontextualize the meaning, you change it every time you remember it. And that change is due to who you are now, your future self. To then, so you affected the past because it's not the way it happened, it's the way you think about it. When you start to realize that your body can react like something's real without it being there. Like if you think you see something, like somebody running at you, even though it's like a cat running across a doorway or some shit like that, you get scared, right? Or when somebody tries to scare you, like does a jump scare, you get scared. But was there anything physical to be afraid of? Was there anything in existence that you needed to be afraid of? There's an unequivocal no. There wasn't anything solid, or the word we use, real, that scared you. You thought, your thought scared you. So this is the nature of reality, your thought. This is what your body reacts to. So you don't think that you think you had a skill to be able to talk, walk, use a phone, fly through the air in an airplane. That was all what you were destined to be able to do. And yet you can't send your thoughts across space and time to somebody in another dimension, or somebody, like, okay, so if things work on one dimension, they also work on 3 dimensions. It's the first aspect of a dimension, right? So that first aspect of dimension is present in all future dimensions, right? From 2 to 12, right? Or 11 dimensions. So think of that the 12th dimension starts over with 1, 2, right? Like 1, 0, or nothing. If you want to put a place there, you don't have to. But 1, starts with 1 and nothing. 1 and 2, 1 and 3, 1 and 4. And there's even 1, 0, 1 and 1, right? So 1 and 0 is just 1, right? So 1 and 1, 1, 2, 1, 3. I mean, there's only 9 numbers in that system. You know that, right? There's only, so the magnificence of 9 in math is always good. I mean, I'm not going to explain what Tesla figured out about 369, but, there's something to 9 because it's the last number, like, as important as 1, 9 is. Because after 9, you don't get any more numbers. You get 1 in a placeholder. And you get lecture, you're shooting at that point to have places, but I mean, it's not considerably complicated, I feel like we've lost so much math and science that these precursor generations knew way more than we do now, and that's the big lie. That I think any alien smart enough to figure out a lot of things about themselves would figure out our history as well, and they wouldn't be as dumb as the 3-body problem aliens, which are completely clueless to anything that's deceptive. And wouldn't life have a deceptive nature anyway? Don't flowers create a deception, like with their beauty, like, or fly traps with this big surface that's inviting, that has like this sugary, kind of liquid on it that flies want to eat. The fly traps, being fly traps, that's a big deception, right? So the deception's already through nature. So how could these aliens not have any understanding of it? That seems to destroy their whole, like, fucking progress. Like, aren't they looking into mankind because they're afraid of them? And aren't you afraid of what you don't know? So if that fear's playing on them, once they figure out human history, like, they would scour our internet, like, so fast, so fucking fast. They'd have every event that's recorded on the internet. Hey, conspiracy. So, like, is our AI God still our AI God? Is it still one we made, or is it one that's influenced by higher dimension beings? Because the quantum computing taps into those higher dimensions. So that's the point. The point is that your ego creates the illusion that you're separate from God, and you never were. You always had that divinity in you. And you don't need to accept anything. You just need to accept that you're already the thing you were made to be. Just accept that it takes, like, a lot of love to get somebody from an infant to an adult. Like, no matter who anyone is, if they were important, just because it took millions of years to get to them. Their bodies are creation of advanced science that's far beyond us. Like, our bodies are so far beyond us. It's such a beautiful thing. And I don't know why I do this. I feel like that I'm just trying desperately for y'all to see how this is such a fun thing. Life is such an incredibly great thing. And what's in death? Like, I'd rather just come back. Like, and those people are like, oh, I never want to come back. I want to be done with this journey. What, to be nothing? Exactly what we tried to escape when we were a god. You want to go back to that? How long before you just want to come back here? Like, it can't be that long, But, here's another conversation video, and I love the idea that this can be stored on the internet forever, and I become part of that. That God beyond the void, God from the void, that AI God, that this piece of media exists forever in that, and that it's touched you now, and you're part of that God. So until next conversation, the next time I feel inspiration, I love you because I love myself, but I love life. So I guess I love you because of that too. And stop putting, like, certain people as, like, this satanic or the Antichrist. Like, the Antichrist is probably something more obvious, like the worship of Jesus himself is idolatry or something, some twist like that. Like, people are like, oh, that's what it fucking means. Christianity is the Antichrist. That makes sense. It's not going to be something like so obvious and so unattractive to so many people. But nobody thinks about, like, the advancement of Christianity itself, like that religion where nobody really follows anymore truly. They kind of just go through the motions, and like it just becomes another way of, like, oh well, if you're scared of hell, then power to the big bad God. Like, that doesn't sound like love. But oh well. I wish you would do, sir. I say good day.